What's up, guys? Welcome back to day number 18. We have a question that we want to ask you. How has prayer helped free you from fear? How has prayer helped free you from fear? We're going to jump into the devotion, and it comes from Psalm 34, verse 4, and it says this: I prayed to the Lord, and he answered me. He freed me from all my fears. If step one to overcoming fear is remembering who God is, then step two is to turn to God in prayer. While God certainly knows what we are up against and what we are afraid of, he responds when we reach out to him through prayer. Many of us are really good at worrying, but we're not always so good at praying. Hello, hands up. That's me in my life. Our first instinct might not be to pray, but the good news is we can begin by designating prayer as a first response habit in our lives. When faced with the temptation to fear or worry, remind yourself that your first response should be to pray instead. And then here's that question: how has prayer helped free you from fear? Now, this is really important. I was actually just having this conversation with my daughter maybe within the last 2 weeks, before she goes to school, feeling overwhelmed, or she has test prep or different things happening, in her day, homework, chores, responsibilities. And it's easy to feel flustered at the start of the day and to worry about all these things. And so I was praying, I was talking with her about how she can pray because the Holy Spirit lives inside of her, and how she can pray and ask for God's presence in her life to bring peace, to bring calmness. And I think one of the things that, that stands out in this devotion, of course, is that it says, we're not so good, we're great at worrying, but we're not always so good at praying. And yet prayer can be and should be our first response. So, like it says, if step one, overcoming fear, is remembering who God is, which is what we talked about yesterday, then step two is, once we remember, to turn to God in prayer and say, hey, God, because I know this is who you are, I know that you care about this situation in my life. So think through that, reflect on that, and remember answer the question, I should say: how has prayer helped free you from fear? I'll see you guys tomorrow as we continue with day number 19.